All right, welcome back to MorningLine, everyone. Nick Barris here, and
Yeah, here we go.
Tim, you're here. Tim Takis, elder care attorney.
Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you. Traffic bad?
Yeah, traffic was bad, but
it happens, and he's here now.
Fortunately, my wife was Lynn was driving, and so she dropped me off. With the car, she slowed the car down.
You hopped out.
I was able to hop out. Yeah, she parked. Yeah,
that's teamwork.
Yeah, Rick was waiting in the back.
Yeah,
you're a great team here.
We sat you up here, and you're ready to rock and roll.
I am.
We got the phone lines up 737-7587. If you want to join in the conversation. All right. Remind folks again, elder care.
Elder care law.
Okay,
yeah,
this man was a visionary getting into this field before many. Now with baby boomers aging, it's a big deal. But what are the main issues you deal with, just for our viewers if they want to join in the conversation?
Well, certainly, I mean, usually estate planning, but a lot of it is like, okay, where's mom going to live? How are we going to pay for that? Can I keep my husband at home? How long am I going to be able to do that? Where are you going to live? What happens if you become disabled or incapacitated? What if the spouse dies? Do we have a plan for my disabled spouse? Those sorts of things. All the stuff that we've been talking about for years.
Would you say that everyone at one time or another has to deal with some aspect of
everybody
that?
The fact is that for older people, we all want to, like, when we get older, we want to go from great, hale and healthy, and then drop dead.
Yes.
I mean, that's
kind of what I like.
That's kind of like the American dream,
right?
But
usually it's a slow slide.
By the time you get 65 or 70, there's one or two things, and then maybe you're now. Fortunately, this country, the way we're headed is that our older people are healthier. Mm-hmm. What happens is that they need care longer. They just maybe not going to need, say, extended care.
Right.
See, when I started doing this work in the early 90s, the average person, older person, if they went to a nursing home, they were going to be in a nursing home for about 2.5 years.
Okay.
Now it's like less than a year.
Before they pass?
Yes.
Because they've lived at their own home for a longer
maybe
period of time,
assisted living or whatever. So back then you went from the home, maybe a short period of time, maybe in assisted living, but then maybe 2.5 years in a nursing home.
Okay, gotcha.
So now maybe you have a longer period of being, of needing care, but that care is going to be maybe at home, and then if
there's just a lot more options.
Exactly. And if you do need care in a nursing home, then it's less period of time. In fact, there are fewer people now who are in nursing homes than there were in like 1995.
Makes sense. Now, if you would explain the difference from a nursing home and assisted living, which I guess there are different levels, but what is the difference between the two?
Mostly a nursing home.
Traditional nursing home.
Traditional nursing home is really where people, it's almost like needing health care or medical care there.
Okay.
You certainly need help with activities of daily living, like bathing and dressing and feeding yourself and transferring and all those other things.
All right.
But assisted living is a more home-like environment. The people who are usually living in assisted livings, they have often less cognitive impairments than people who are in nursing homes.
Okay. So it could be more of like an apartment setting in a way, but what type of services? Because I guess different levels. And again, just so you know, I'm asking some of this because what he just describes, I'm dealing with my folks at this very time, and I don't mind sharing any of this stuff with you. But we're all going to deal with it. So different levels. So it could be an apartment living where now they're no longer able to drive. Okay. So
some of them are sometimes they're able to drive.
Okay.
You go to assisted living in any assisted living in Nashville, and you go, who's all these cars here? It's like, well, the people who live here.
They can drive. Okay,
they can drive.
Now, for instance,
some of them maybe shouldn't, but
like my folks,
that's different.
They want to drive and think they can and shouldn't.
Right.
But I don't want to live them in an apartment somewhere because in assisted living, there's so much more options. There's things going on.
You have socialization.
That's the key. That's the key because otherwise you get bored by yourself. All of a sudden, you take the car away. They're in an apartment, and I'll explain the situation.
And we talk about that a lot with our families and our clients. We say is, everybody wants to live at home for your whole life, but if you can't get out, the highlight of your day is when the mailman shows up.
Yeah, right. Right.
You know, or maybe the UPS driver comes and, oh, great, I got another package. You know, and maybe
those going to have social interaction.
Yeah, exactly. You have social interaction. You have your own apartment. If you want to stay in your apartment, you can.
Usually meals provided.
Meals are provided. You go down to the, you know, you go to the dining area.
Okay.
You know, often depending upon the type of facility that you're in, you may be ordering from the menu. You know, like the ones that where my in-laws live. You know, they go in. They've got you know, I think from 11 to 1 o'clock. You know, they go in. They're waited on. You know, they have a menu. They have a, you know, so they order stuff.
Now,
you know, and what you get, a lot of it is just depending on what you pay for.
And I was going to add, that's the next question then. So the cost. Now, what you described sounds great for people when they get to that point. The range of costs for something like this, I've been told, depending on the facility and the level you're in, can be anywhere from, on the very low end, $2,000 a month, you know, per person, to obviously if you go really gold standard, it could be like 10 grand, but usually between $2,000 and $5,000 a month,
that's
somewhere in that realm, maybe.
The low, like you said, the low end is really around 2,000.
Okay.
And we're talking about for a single person.
Yes.
The high end is going to be around 4,000 to 5,000. I mean, you can go to some places in the Nashville area, and we can talk about, you know where those are.
Yeah.
They're going to be, they're going to be a little north of 5,000 for a one person.
When you say one person too, obviously if it's an individual, okay, we know the one person. Now, if it's a couple and they're going to be living together in the same, is it as expensive as two people, or could couples be a little less than two individuals?
Yeah, it's less than two individuals.
Okay, that's good to know. Now,
less than one individual.
I was trying to work it out with my folks on the cost on some of this, because they're going to be looking at this at some point here within the next year for sure, I think. And my dad and mom with Social Security and a retirement fund and stuff like that bring in about $2,600 a month. Okay. Then on top of that, they have some savings.
Right.
Not huge, but 30, 40,000. And they're selling their house, which if it goes as planned, will be close to $200,000 a year. So if you have, they're going to continue to have that static income every month of about $2,600. Okay, so that would pay maybe for 2/3 of the cost, possibly. If we figure for the two of them, it's like maybe they're going to be
maybe for around 4,500 to 5.
Okay, yeah, and they're by the way in Idaho, which is I did some research. One of the more affordable, top 3 in terms of affordability for assisted living facilities in the country. But you're right; it would probably be between 4 and 5.
Right. So figure around 5 by the time you add up all the expenses of living there. They may have they may or may not have a car. They may have obviously other expenses rather than just what they're paying to the facility. But they've got the room there. They've got food there. They have medical care. There's a nurse there. Basically, it's all part of what you pay for. And a lot of facilities now, they have like a levels. So you might go in as a level 1, which is where you need minimal assistance.
Right.
And then you go up to sometimes like maybe level 4, where you need maximum assistance, where maybe someone comes in every other day and bathes you. Maybe someone comes in, and makes sure you take your medications and so on. So it's kind of, a lot of those are like a la carte.
Yeah. Okay, so you're going to choose those.
Yes.
So
but you don't necessarily choose them because it's kind of like, no, I'm sorry, the fact that, okay, you want to come in as a level 1, and maybe you were a level 1 2 years ago, but if you need more help, you have to pay for it.
Sure.
Because they're not going to let you stay there if you can't meet if they can't meet your needs, and frankly, you won't let them meet your needs.
Yeah. So you have to assess what the needs are, and then you determine when you're going to pay.
That's the key thing about the assisted living.
So you think what I described to you financially, they can afford to go to nurse?
Oh yeah.
Think they can pull that off?
Oh sure. Yeah.
Well, that's
so
good.
How old are your mom and dad?
My dad's 83. My mom, I think, is 79.
79. Okay, so
they're getting up there. And
so
the main thing is with the house, they get the house sold, and they're pretty cognitive. Okay, my mom's just going to need someone to make sure she takes her pill in the morning.
So let's do the math on this. Is it okay? So $2,600 a month coming in. Okay, so you sell the house, and you got what, a total of
$200,000, $250,000.
Then add on to the house maybe another. Okay, so you say $250,000 perhaps, $300,000 maybe.
You mean with
after you sold the house? Okay, now what's their pile? How much is that going?
Oh yeah, with the pile, it'll probably be $250,000 or something like that. Okay,
so if they're going to have let's say a $2,500 a month, say $2,000 a month shortfall. Okay, $25,000 a year. Okay, so that'll last them 10 years.
Yeah. Okay. Let's take some calls.
Okay.
Thanks. Yes.
Right. And then if your father or your mother were veterans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and my dad's a veteran.
Your dad's a veteran. When does he serve?
I mean,
Korea,
Korea
right?
War, yeah.
Korea? Yeah, so he could qualify for a veteran's benefit.
I don't even know that he's ever pursued his veteran benefit.
Well, see, that's exactly.
Benefits.
So now, with the veterans benefit, eligible veterans for that can get up to $2,200 a month.
Let's see. Holy cow! I didn't even think about the veterans benefit. A lot of people don't. I don't know why my dad's not ever pursued it.
Well, because he's a non-service connected, which means he did 2 years or 3 years or whatever. He was fine. He came home. He married your mom. They had you. They had all this other stuff, and your brother. And he's going. I never gave 2 seconds worth of thought about the VA, and now suddenly it's like, okay, now his kids are going. Okay, now we've got a shortfall here.
So they could assist. You could just contact the VA.
Don't do that yet. That's when we need to talk about getting you to the right place, because if you file a VA claim before you are ready to file, then you may lose options.
Well, you and I will talk more about that. But that's good, because I know either you or I know
I've got some
this man knows colleagues all over the country, which is awesome. But he's been a great help to me, and I really do appreciate it. I mean, you're a friend and you're an expert, and look, we all deal with it. It's a pain in the butt, but you do it because your parents, you love them, or whoever it is you're dealing with.
Yeah, you need to take care of your mom and dad.
And there are ways you can work it out.
Yes.
All right. So.
Right. The key thing there is, I know we're going to take some calls here in a minute. The key thing is that way you can stay your mom and dad.
Yeah.
That your mom and dad.
Exactly.
I always say is for W. Or for Barbara Bush, W is still her little boy.
Yes, it always will be.
That's right, and that's what we want. And that's what you want for your mom and dad.
That's what I want. But then you feel like you're the one that's being the parent, having to care, and that's what makes it hard sometimes. Sure. And they feel it, because most people, when they get older, they're proud, and they've got these ideas, but they're slow to come around to accepting sometimes what their limitations are, and you don't want them to hurt themselves or someone else.
And then you kind of nudge them in the right direction, which is kind of where it sounds like what you're doing. And
that's how. And obviously, they have their own research. If they ever needed help, my brother and I would take care of that too, financially. So let's take a call from Brian before we've got calls actually coming in now. If you want to join us, 737-7587. Any situation you're dealing with, power of attorney, you want to ask about reverse mortgages, whatever. Let's start with Brian. Brian, good morning.
Morning, Coldville.
Hey, how's it going, buddy?
Hey, the cold is especially susceptible to elders like me and Nick and the young guy on your left. He seems kind of young.
Yeah.
But,
how about that?
So, what if you have, I've told you about my lady friend Jean, right?
I think so. What was it? Remind us.
Well, she was down here for years and years. She's a big shot broker and wannabe recording artist, whatever they all are. And she's rich, beautiful. Jean Maris, you might have heard of it. She sang under Jean Shea.
Okay. And what happened?
She got to Opryland one night. She played mostly smaller clubs. She moved back to Wisconsin, and she's, like me, we're not real young, we're not real old either, but we wondered, what about people who are friends and because I know that if something happened to either of us, they'd be heartbroken, but see, she's closer to her family than I am. She just moved back to Wisconsin not too long ago. And I'm not ready to move back up north. Matter of fact, I might move south.
I don't blame you. I'm with you.
So and I have to drag her with me. What happened? A lot of people he knows where I'm going with this. Okay, what's this guy's responsibility if something happened? Does he have any? Then the family comes in, nudges him out. I know all these different stories. I'm a smart guy, you know that. Yeah. So a lot of people, they'll just get married just
to have somebody.
Yeah. We're not going to do that. Her family would.
Oh, okay. But you're wondering too, if you're not married legally, what you can do, or dealing with the family and such.
Yeah, one of us is sick, who is a power of attorney. I don't. She doesn't. That's bullshit. That's bull, because her family is
No, I hear you. All right. So you seem to pick up what he was going on with this. He has a lady friend, but they're not married. And I think he's worried about wanting, if he needs to help her, or vice versa. Now, legally, how much can he do if they are not married?
Well, then not very much. Okay. And even if they're married, there's a minimal amount. Frankly. But the point is that's where you kind of start thinking about doing having some kind of plan. It's like, okay, what's your plan?
Right,
Brian, what's your plan? It's like, all right. So he has that conversation with his friend.
Would that be like power of attorney or something like this?
Could be power of attorney. It says, okay, what do we need to do to make sure who's got authority to act and when does that arise? Okay, and what can you do? I mean, put yourself in a position of, your mom and dad or anybody's mom and dad. You're going, I can't get my mom and dad to think about turning loose of anything that they have. It's like, no, we're not really talking about turning stuff loose. We're talking about, all right, what if you became disabled or incapacitated? Who's going to make decisions for you? Do you have a legal authority to do you have legal authority to do that? I mean, I think about sometimes, there are a lot of members of the LGBT community that are going, they've been couples for decades, but legally they could not get married, and so what happens if one of them gets sick?
Exactly.
But you still have to make a plan. You got to get your documents in place. You've got to make sure your estate planning is done. You have to have conversations about, the what if conversations.
Right. But for them, it's a little more complicated. Is that where they especially need legal advice?
It could be
in that situation, because the laws, maybe aren't going to apply to them the same way they would another married couple.
Exactly. And then, but still, ultimately it's about, making decisions for somebody else is still just about, okay, do you have do you have powers of attorney in place? I mean, I always say those are necessary to have in most cases, but they're not nearly sufficient.
Right.
I mean, as you've realized, we really need these, but you also have to have other things in place about where your mom or dad going to live. What's your plan if, like, your brother in Boise, what if he drops dead or he goes, the next thing you know, you're getting a call from him and you're going, and what do we do now because his wife is sick or kids or whatever, but that's just about having a plan, and it's the same thing
and
here.
a plan is then taking into account all these possible variables, which can make your head spin.
In a way that they do, but I always say is that we're not trying to plan for what happens if a meteor falls on your head.
Right. So it's known variables where there are solutions.
Yeah. Which you can figure that happen to people all the time.
Yeah. All right, let's take a break on that note. When we come back, Cindy, Joe, Lee, and others, stay there. We'll get to your phone calls for Tim. The line's open. Jump in. Free legal advice, 737-7587 on the very subject we're just talking about, elder care and all of that. We'll be back with more right after this.